Sue, if you're listening, we love you.
I don't know who you are, Sue, but just stop.
I just finished eating 400 grams of rice. And let me tell you, we switched rice. We went from the Kellerose rice to the Thai rice. I forgot how amazing Thai jasmine rice was. It literally is like a pillow. It's like eating a cloud. It digests so well. I was like, wow, this is amazing. What a treat.
Have you tried the sushi rice yet?
I don't know if Costco has sushi rice.
It's so expensive.
It is
Sushi,
expensive, but I like it.
but it's worth it. It's
I like
sticky and it just,
like it.
Well,
I
I
like it.
don't want it to be sticky. I need it to be
yeah.
like
Right
just
now, you need it to be just easy to put down.
mhm.
Sushi rice is more for like dieting.
Yeah.
I want to die. So, but did it go to your glutes?
Can we get a
Or
cheap check?
No, literally, I need to show you guys the reel that I'm doing on Sunday about my my little glow up, right? Like I am nothing genetically special. I just am a person. And I made this like little like cute little inspo reel and I just sent it to the group chat with like the stupid little bio that I'm doing.
I was
But,
fucking
like,
dying at the reel you made
oh
yesterday.
my God, right? Like the realities of like what it
I
actually is like to get ready with me. I mean, that's true though. Like how many times are we like flicking the needles and making sure
I
that there's no air
legit spit
bubbles?
out my water watching that.
I wanted to post it, actually post it, but I was like, I feel like that's not borderline professional, no matter how true it is. So I just put it to my close friends.
I love it.
Yeah.
God, don't have time
Is
for.
this supposed to play?
No, it's just a
Okay.
picture.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you just sent a picture.
Oh, that's dumb.
I figured as much.
Stupid. It was supposed to be a video.
I need to get my content game up and
Do you plan it?
slacking.
I was gonna say I have a hard time with that. I can't like pre-plan content because then it end up sucking if I'm like forcing it. Like as things
Yeah.
come to mind and I start getting creative, cool. But if I try to do something like far out, I feel like I flop it every time.
All right, the video
Well,
loaded. I don't pre-plan my shit. I was advised to do that, and like honestly, it felt so forced and fake.
It's
And I was like, I hate this. I hate this so much. And it's like you need to like there's no point in being your own boss if you hate doing what you're doing and you feel pressured because then it's not you. And like people get a sense of like
mm,
nasty.
nasty. You nasty.
But yeah. All right, so it finally showed the video because I was like, it's not a
ew.
picture, it's a video. But I will say investing in Canva Pro was like such a good move on my end because my stuff looks like a lot more professional now.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Canva, but
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to do more like talking stuff and more educational posts, but
Mm-hmm.
I just have so much going on the backside of like what I put out on social media that it's just like I don't have time. And I know that sounds like a fucking excuse, and it probably is, but I feel like I just don't have time in the day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
you've had a lot of life experiences happen too, especially like with your family. Like you need to have priorities when it comes to like what truly matters. And it's like you need to take care of you and yourself first. Make sure that like your house is taken care of, you and Chip, then your
mhm,
athletes, and then like all these other things. Like honestly, like it's good to show up on social media because like people have the attention span of like squirrel. So like people need to know that you're still a person and alive. But like as far as like putting out like content every single day, like if you don't have the bandwidth to it, don't like just be active in your stories, repost your clients, and that way people still know that you're a person. But like, I just don't spread yourself so thin to the point where like you can't keep up because then you end up burning yourself out and then you do have to stop with everything.
mhm. Yeah, and I don't want to like put out shit content,
Hmm.
but I know it's more important to me is like giving the clients, like my clients, my
Hmm.
attention and not Instagram. So if I fall off of Instagram for a little bit, that's why.
Hmm.
But we'll see. I don't know. And like I don't I don't know if you guys get it a lot, but I have been getting shitted on every time I post my voice, my face, anything regarding my transformation now. I get at least like 2 or 3 people saying I sound like a man, I look like a man. That
Oh,
lady
fuck
saying
them.
I'm taking like so much testosterone. And then she said that she worked with me. She commented that today. I'm like, I don't know who you are. And
So here's
that
the
made me
deal.
feel bad. I
You
was like,
made it. If when you start to get quote unquote hate, no, I'm serious. When you start to get haters or criticism, that's how you know you made it, right? The loudest boos come from the fucking gallery that's at the tippy top, right? Like people have eyes on you and they just people who have nothing and no one will take anything from anyone. Like that's just the reality of it. Like I have that too on my not gonna lie because they're cowards. They want to hide behind a not anonymity, pseudonymity.
it's
They want to hide
anonymity.
behind
Mini, mini, mini.
pseudonymity. They want to hide. They want to hide something. By the way, guys, anonymous on the. I'm not gonna lie, not actually anonymous. Just
Do
saying.
you do it? Do you pay to see? Don't
Uh,
you have to pay?
I'm just saying it's not anonymous. So like you can be a coward and hide, but like I know who you are, especially when it's like early in the morning and people are like, "Oh, you're a skinny crackhead," and only like 4 people have like seen my stories, and I'm like, okay, well, process of elimination is it these 3 people that I know see my shit every single day, or is this random like bot that like is clearly a burner account? It's like process of elimination, but like at the end of the day, it only matters if you give it the power to matter.
I
And
know.
like people
I
are
wish
gonna
I
have
got that much attention. That would at least make me feel like people watch my shit. Fuck.
I mean, as my take home is it's like people are with nothing and no one will try to take anything from anyone. That's like my mantra. So it's like if people are shitting on you, imagine how much free time they have to be on Instagram, to go to Dr. Megan Santa Barbara Scooby, whatever your tag is, to comment some shit about you and your success because they
Or
will literally be nothing
just
because that's just
blasting the test.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
I don't know.
just ignore it. And like I know that's such a mom answer to just ignore it, sweetheart, but like ignore it.
People
Like it's
always want
just
to say something in general just for like comments.
yeah.
I've had a lot of people lately come up to me and be like, "You look better now that you've gained weight." And I'm like,
I love that.
fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for the compliment. It's like a backhanded compliment that I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
think you look great, Laura, for what it's worth. And I do want to interrupt something. So I emailed my source to get some more GH kits. And in order to do the tagline, you have to do like something random as shit. So I just titled it Secret Crappy Patty Formula. And he's like, I get a response today, laughing my fucking ass off. I forgot the subject line quote, by far my favorite of all time.
Damn.
I'm sorry, I had to like laugh at that.
I love
Um,
it.
but yeah, just there are always going to be haters. And when you get haters, that's how you know you made it because like they're probably listening right now and they're just waiting for you to post this to be like, she still sounds like a man. Just crush them between your legs. It's fine.
It's like the watermelon. I want you to do that challenge. I'm sorry, I do.
Dude, I want to be the watermelon in that challenge.
Dude, there's some weird people who will pay some money to see that. And honestly, I feel like I would like,
Capitalize then.
dude, like the adduction machine.
Yeah.
I always pop my pubic bone. Always. Fucking hurts.
Mhm,
And I know it's gonna happen. So like I do more warm-ups than probably necessary
mhm.
because I want it to pop before I like go heavy and it
Yep.
pops like mid working set. But that's all I can imagine happening if I squeezed a watermelon between my legs. It's just
Yep.
like my pubic bone just going. So
Literally.
I
Before
don't know.
Meg and
All
I
right,
were
let's
friends, I would always again, I kind of feel bad with how I treated Meg before we were friends because like I was just
like an
like
object.
I literally kind of worshipped her in a creepy way because I was like, she's just so muscular and dense. I love her. But I'd always like show like Eric like a physique photo or a training video of Meg, and I would always be like, I want to be between her legs. Like you can ask him. I'm like, I want her to pop me like a watermelon because like I just like
Goodbye, Larry's like, is there something you're not telling me?
Like crying.
I'm just obsessed with her legs because like I will never have the density of legs that Meg has, and I'm just like I just want to know what it feels like to be
Nobody's
that
gonna have
powerful.
that.
Okay. I'm sure you're not alone there, but being in between my legs, that's a special position. So Not for everybody.
Maybe for Halloween, I'll dress up as a watermelon and I'll just like assume the position.
That can be our our TPF little Halloween. What would you
Yes.
be, Laura?
Oh, fuck. A
The
photographer for this whole experiment.
just the creepy outsider. But hey.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
What are we doing today? I feel like this is my last for the
Well, I mean,
podcast.
hey, me talking about my manly voice while I blast my TRT dose kind of circles into what we wanted to talk about, which is TRT and HRT.
Mhm.
Or, I mean, do you want to just gear it towards enhanced athletes or just women in general?
Why don't we just talk about TRT and HRT,
Athletes.
like either for like menopause or even for enhanced athletes? Because as of right now, like I don't know about you ladies, but I've received athletes where females are being told by either male coaches or TRT clinics, starting dosage for test
Mhm.
40, 50, 60 milligrams a week. And their test levels are 200. And the most
Yeah.
I've ever seen with a woman was 461 total test.
Yeah.
What the fuck was she running?
She was on 60 milligrams a week of an injectable. She had a combined troche of testosterone and DHEA. And then I think she was also on like something like pregnenolone. Uh,
Why? Just
Does she have
why?
a full-blown beard? Like,
dude, literally,
Yeah.
it's like some of these women, I'm afraid that they have like a wiener between their legs. And I feel so bad because like they probably like they don't know, right? They're trusting either their male coach or a fucking doctor. And they're probably experiencing all these sides. And they think it's normal or they think they're a problem and they don't realize it's the dosage. And not to mention, if we like even talk about gut health and hormonal health and liver health, like imagine if those systems are gunked up and you're adding more testosterone or more hormones to the fuel of the fire. Like it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I told you how when I first started HRT, I didn't realize that the 5 milligrams was for the total for the week. So I was doing technically 10, not realizing it. And then luckily I did the right thing that I only had done it for 4 weeks and then redid my labs.
That's
But
good.
my test was like 95 for TRT. I'm like, the fuck? Why is it
Yeah.
so high? And then I realized.
People
Well,
don't realize volume. I think that's a big problem too. It's like they get their 100 milligram per ml bottle, like a lady test bottle, but then they won't understand IUs or they don't understand like how to dose it with a syringe. And that's why I made that syringe video because like most people don't understand like concentration and volume and it's not really educated about. So it's like, you do a full ml thinking that like, oh, that's the right dosage. And then next thing you know, like I said, like you're sprouting like a beard.
yeah.
Like literally like I'm so tired of coaches just being negligent and not paying attention and the athlete suffers. And like the athletes, like there are some athletes that are so loyal and so good and hardworking that they just want to follow their directions and they're so afraid to like speak up for themselves because they don't want to be annoying or bothersome. And it's like it pisses me off because there are some genuinely good people, good athletes in this space that get so jaded by poor coaching and it just ruins bodybuilding and ruins everything for them. And then like that's like one of my things. It just makes me want to like
Yeah.
And for those of you listening too, don't be afraid to ask your coach questions if you are feeling like you're maybe not interpreting something correctly or even like double check like I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. You're playing with your health and like nobody should ever risk that, especially with not being sure about something and feeling like they don't want to be annoying. Always ask.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what you're paying them for. But um, I had a similar kind of thing happen. I had a new girl join, and we're in prep right now. Like I picked up where she was, and her previous coach, because she was natural, she didn't want to use any type of PEDs, which okay, whatever. Um, we talked about it, and now we're going to actually. But
Mhm.
her coach at the time was like, okay, well, since you're not going to use PEDs, we're just going to double your TRT. So she was at 10, and it was just 10 milligrams once a week, and it was test set. So the half-life and everything, like she should have been separating that in two
Yeah.
anyway. But he doubled it to 20 without testing labs, Girl lost her period, got her labs done. Her total T is like at 298. Her free T is at like 5.5. So yeah, we cut that down to actually 8 milligrams weekly, split in 2 doses. Like, what the fuck? What sense does that make? Oh, you're not gonna take PEDs. Let me just blast you with a fucking almost transitioning dose.
That's almost like going against her will because
Yeah, and she was
she
like,
didn't
okay.
know better. But
And
then
she
at the same
got
time, you have to think like, how do you not notice how you feel being a lot different? Like if your test is that high, you're likely very irritable, angry, like just
water retention,
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I mean, maybe she didn't feel like she could talk about it, right? Like that's probably why she's working with Meg now, is because she no longer felt like she was safe and she wanted to work with someone who she felt safe and heard with.
Yeah. So it happens more often than not. But I think what you brought up, the whole dosing thing, is super important because people don't understand, like, especially as females, like when you get TRT from an actual HRT clinic, obviously it's a little different. But if you're getting it from a source, you have to look at the concentration, so the milligram per milliliter of what you're purchasing. Like I've had people get like the 200 meg per ml, and I'm just like, how are we dosing that appropriately?
Mm-hmm.
If for females, you're using such a little bit amount that to take that big of a concentration to get what you need, literally it's gonna be like minuscule.
Yep.
You'll misdose it for sure.
I'm
Mhm.
Um,
pretty sure you can only get the 50 a clinic.
yeah. And you mess up and buy the 100 meg or 200 meg per ml. It's like,
Mhm.
well, you can fuck up your dosage pretty easily.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think it's good to even take a step back and understand that, like, what are normal ranges in the first place if we're looking on labs? And like, when I say normal, like, mean like the status quo, like, honestly, like what I see as normal and common is like anywhere from 20 to 30 nanograms per deciliter. Like that's where most women are. Now, that's not necessarily healthy or optimal, but like we're thinking stress, maybe previous hormonal birth control usage, maybe even current hormonal birth control uses. Like it is very common for me to receive labs from like a new athlete that's not enhanced, and we're seeing 20 to 30. Ideally, I wouldn't mind seeing anywhere from 40 to 60, but at the end of the day, don't go chasing numbers. Like Laura mentioned, how do you feel? Because at the end of the day, you're feeling good, you have healthy libido, healthy muscle tone, good energy, like 30 or 40, okay, like let's not like start tweaking things just to be a science experiment. But if you're a lady that's an athlete that wants to be, maybe let's call it an athletic range, maybe you do want it to between 80 and 100. But again, you need to notice your side effects. Like, are you starting to feel like more aggressive? Do you have excess water retention? Like, are you starting to notice any like chin hair growth or clitoral swelling, like any types of virilization? Because that's important to look at too when it comes to making sure your dosage is right and still respecting your femininity, which I know we have spoken about in an earlier podcast.
Something also to note with that, if you are someone that is pushing your TRT to, what do we want to call it, TRT plus, that it's a little bit higher,
I call it athletic because it,
athletic TRT. If you are then making the decision to go into a prep or whatever the case off season and you're adding enhancements, you need to bring that down because your total accumulative load of androgens is going to be too high because it's already elevated just from your TRT.
Yeah. And
personally,
that's
I
where
leave it. Like if
Really?
if it's like if my like TRT is like 5 milligrams a week, I'm gonna leave it at that. But if I'm running a
Yes.
cycle, then I'm going to look at like my primobolan and make sure that if I'm adding on top of it, I am respecting the entire androgen weekly load, right?
I'm
That's what I do.
I'm speaking more towards if you have someone you were saying from that 80 to 100 range from where their TRT is set, I would bring that down to be at like a more like 40 to 60 and then whatever you're adding on top of it.
Got you.
yeah. And I don't know what I was gonna say. Never mind.
She goes, "Mm."
Blanked. Blanked.
No, but I think it's important to also just understand that like there are different types of HRT, TRT when it comes to like injectables or pellets or creams or whatever, because like let's be honest, like if you are just like a gem popper lifestyle female, you maybe are not comfortable with injections, and that's completely understandable. There are also oral routes as well, but I think it's important to first understand that like injectables, I think are this not the safest. I think it's the most stable for your levels, especially if we are doing like twice a week injections, because the injection volume is fairly small. Your hormone levels stay a bit more stable, but like obviously if you don't want to be pitting yourself twice a week, I get that. So we could look at maybe doing like an oral route or a troche or a cream. Um, I know another common thing that some like OBGYN clinics like to do are pellets. I don't know how
Mm.
you guys feel about pellets, but I'm not a huge fan because it's like the way it gets metabolized is kind of like, so it's like
I
not as
I had a
stable.
client that was using them once, and that was exactly it. It was, she's like, I feel great first thing in the morning, and then the rest of my day is shit.
Shit. Yeah, dude, like creams, pellets, I don't know. Absolutely not. Because you cannot adjust the dosage accordingly. You
Mhm,
can't titrate it up, you can't titrate it down. Like it is what it is. And yeah, there's no way to really manage the dosing.
mhm.
Uh, I guess a troche is okay, but the best way to keep it stable is definitely injectable.
Trochees are
And
inserted?
what?
Trochees inserted? Is that what?
Troche?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think troche over a pellet personally.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be injectable for me.
Yeah. Like I have an athlete that's taking an oral testosterone from her OBGYN, and that's not too bad. And I know orals tend to get a bad rap because they tend to be like liver and hepatotoxic, but with the dosage that she is taking, we're not so concerned about that. But just in the off chance that maybe you do already have previous liver damage from whatever life or previous like actual oral abuse, this is where we can add in something like TUDCA, NAC, something like Prime for Morphogen Nutrition, just to kind of protect your liver health and your kidney health too, to make sure that we're still metabolizing our hormones properly and breaking them down for excretion too. So that's just something else to keep in mind when it comes to what type of TRT you're taking. Because again, thinking of either injectable, how that's metabolized, cream, how that's absorbed, pellets, how that's absorbed, oral, how it's absorbed. It's not just like so cut and dry.
Yeah. And then you also have to consider what other enhancements you're going to use during prep. If you're
Mhm,
going to use like T-ball, Winnie, Anavar, like oral compounds, you have to be smart with that. Like
mhm,
if I'm going to reduce like the toxicity, like the toxic load on the liver, and the person doesn't want to do injectable, I would probably do like training day only if we're using like Anavar or Winstrol or something. I don't like Winstrol, but Anavar mainly would
mhm,
be like training day only to reduce that toxic kind of accumulation. But keeping in the health supplements is very, very important too.
mhm. You guys just want to keep it to testosterone, or do you also want to talk about estrogen and progesterone too?
We can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But I guess one other point to make, and I think because it's been coming up more so in like the past like 2 years, um, TRT being like a base for like cycle design. And there is a reason for that.
Mhm,
We can get away with using less of the like primo, anavar, things like that, because we're kind of safeguarding our test. Because as we use like things like primo, anavar, it's suppressing our gonadotropin. So estrogen is going to go down, testosterone is going to go down. So if we have TRT as a base, we're kind of just like safeguarding our prep in a sense.
mhm,
It's kind of like using like exogenous T3, our thyroid's naturally downregulating during a prep. So we're just using it as a way to kind of get more from the prep. It's not like some magical pill to get you shredded, but
mhm.
definitely helps.
Yeah. And as females, like we need testosterone too, because like we need
Yeah.
testosterone, just not obviously as much as males do. That's like the big difference. And so like don't be afraid of testosterone, because as a base, like Meg was saying, it also becomes metabolized and other enzymes work on it to turn it into estrogen or turn it into DHT. And those hormones get a bad rap too. Like, oh, estrogen makes you fat or DHT makes you lose your hair. It's like in the right balance, which is why, again, dosage is so important. Like these hormones are good for us, they are good for our overall health. But it's when we have too much estrogen or too little estrogen or too much DHT or not enough DHT that things go awry. So, again, base dosage is super, super important. So, don't be afraid to use testosterone thinking that it's going to automatically turn you into a dude, because that's why Anavar was my first cycle, because I was afraid of testosterone, not understanding like the benefits of actually having that in place.
I think that's a really common one, that Anavar is always the first go-to because it's oral and people
Mhm.
are less afraid of it. But the reality of it is then it like basically bottoms out your natural testosterone production. So to
Mhm.
have it be more successful, you should be stacking that with TRT tests so you don't downregulate yourself.
Dude, like I see so many girls like literally just getting ready for the beach and their boyfriend will give them like Anavar, like
Mhm.
20 mgs daily. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Like, what are you actually doing? Like, it's crazy. And that's why I love that post shit. Was it like on J3U? It's like your boyfriend is not your coach or something.
Yeah.
I mean, if he is your coach, like fuck it. Okay, listen to him if he's smart. Like what? You're just trying to like get a little body fat off, look nice in your bikini, and you're taking 20 mgs of Anavar.
Yeah. Like I love how bodybuilders get absolutely shat on because,
Right?
oh, we use steroids, but you better believe all the chuckle
There's
fucks that
so
Planet
many.
Fitness, they're doing the same shit. They just don't look good.
Yes, they look like shit, and they're probably running more gear than most of us,
Not
looking
even
like shit.
not even Planet Fitness. I think that probably
Sorry,
most
Crunch Fitness. Sorry, Laura.
I was gonna say most people that you see that are like Instagram Fitspo models and things like that, they're taking Anavar too.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I never knew that when I was younger, and I used to be like, how do they have such like stacked abs? I want a six pack like that. What the fuck? My genetics suck. And then I realized, oh,
Well,
Uh,
genetics do play a role,
they
yeah.
but
do. But like,
yeah, but most
But so does
people,
Anavar.
so does Anavar.
Jesus.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually mind blowing to me to know how many like Gen Pop people are taking like performance enhancing drugs. And I don't think like I was like back and forth with this during my earlier phases of coaching. But if I have a Gen Pop athlete who has specific physique goals, very diligent with their blood work, they know the risks and the rewards of all of it, and they want to consider taking performance enhancing drugs, I have no problem with it. But if I just have like Sue, mom of three, who just wants to drop like 5 pounds, and she's like, "So what about Anavar?" I'll be like, "Sue,
Fucking Sue.
get out of your ass." Like, then we've had a little issue. Like, let's just get you stopped like drinking like on your wine nights and what? Like,
Sue, you
why
pill
do you need to
popping
be running
slut.
Anavar?
No, that's so, so, so true. It's like a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
But also like where we're talking about like hormone replacement, like there's also the conversation about like estrogen and progesterone, which I think is also important to talk about as well. And this is where we need to understand that when it comes to working with HRT clinics or OBGYNs or whoever is like dosing your shit, there is no set like protocol or standard across the industry. Like each clinic has their own way of doing things. And the important thing is to start with the lowest effective dose, to make sure follow-up labs are being had, and to make sure your symptoms are being heard. I think those are like the three things that should be regulated across the industry that are not, because like what works for Meg might not work for me. What works for me might not work for Laura. And it's like, I'm on test estrogen and progesterone. I think Meg is just on test, and I think Laura is on test and progesterone. So yeah, three different ladies, three different types of TRT, HRT stuff.
also keep in mind your health history. If you don't come from a previous past of anyone in your family having breast cancer, things like that, that would not be a route that you would want to take because that can to make that worse.
Yeah.
Or just take a Dutch test and see how
I was
you're
gonna say that check
processing.
your methylation and stuff too.
Yeah. Because I'm on estrogen and breast cancer. My grandma had breast cancer, but she like was part of like the estradiol that was fake, kind of like part of that like women's study type of thing. And like I love my grandma, but she doesn't take good care of herself. It's like I'm taking all of my health supplements. I know my 4OH pathway is like the
Same.
preferred is like the 4OH, 2H, 16OH. I know the like methylation is good and stuff like that. So it's like I'm not worried about cancer. What I am worried about is my sex hormones being so tanked, and then I'm worried about like cardiovascular disease and stuff like that. So it's like, again, making sure you're looking at the entire athlete history and making sure that you're getting follow-up labs or even like urine testing to make sure that the hormones are being metabolized properly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's really important. Um, and I understand Dutch panels are expensive. I don't think that every athlete needs to get that done. But if it is, you know, something like Laura said, like something that runs in your family, of breast cancer for sure, really any type of cancer that's going to lead to like greater cell proliferation, I would definitely get a Dutch, um, and then have an HRT consult based off of that. But what was I gonna say here? Oh, about estrogen not being like the devil, because I also see, I got another athlete that I will not name names, but her protocol was quite ridiculous. She was taking Nolvadex and Arimidex every single day, since September up until February.
Nice.
She had her show in like November. She was
What?
still running the AIs and everything until she started working with me. And she was like, yeah, I haven't had my period yet. And I'm like, all right, well, let's pull those. And then she got her fucking period. Like, no shit. So we have to, estrogen is good. It's cardioprotective, it's neuroprotective. You know, it has benefits for our bone health. Like, fuck. Like, are you kidding me? So don't be willing to throw in all these AIs and not be willing to consider HRT if you need it. You know, got to be a little smart here.
Mhm. Exactly. Like
Crazy.
for me, it's like we first started with testosterone. My like all my hormones were just tanked, right? We first started with testosterone, seeing if that was enough estrogen on its own. It wasn't, but then we added first progesterone. But
Mhm.
because my estrogen was so low, I became progesterone dominant, which is very much a thing. Like you want your progesterone to dominate over estrogen during like your luteal phase because that's, due to the actual normal hormonal fluctuations after you ovulate and stuff like that. But you don't want to be PMSing all the freaking time. Like you don't want to have that water retention, the hormonal nutsness. And Eric was like, dude, you're a monster. And I was so emotional and so awful. So that's why I was like, listen, we need to lower my progesterone and we need to add more estrogen just to balance me out. And finally, it's like we got to the point where I'm on 5 milligrams of test sip a week. I'm using 50 micrograms of estradiol, which is next to nothing. And I think 200 milligrams of progesterone, and like I'm just even. I'm good. Like I have like good performance in the gym. I have good like libido as well because it's also important. And my health markers in terms of like my lipid panel, stuff like that, are all good. And so like that's what my HRT journey kind of went through and looked like because it's like people expect that the minute you get on these hormones to feel magically better. And that's not usually the case. You have to like toggle things, get follow-up labs, and again also like look at your symptoms to figure out where your sweet spot is.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, those of you listening to where her current dosing is likely not where you started and probably not where someone should start to see as to like how they feel and whatnot.
No, I started with 25 micrograms of estrogen and 100 milligrams of progesterone. So then we just bumped it up like
I would say
again.
pretty standard. You see, like when they're starting people is 5 milligrams of test and 100 milligrams of progesterone.
Mhm.
I started with 100 milligrams of progesterone and was like literally bleeding out on my period. So
Mhm.
bringing mine down to 50 was my sweet spot.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why it's good to have like a baseline of where you're at because like I said, I was completely bottomed out with everything. So it's like even the testosterone that I was on and it had some aromatization to estrogen, it still wasn't enough to counterbalance the progesterone that I was taking. So that's when we made the executive decision to add an estradiol. And now I'm just like I said, I'm even. I'm good.
Yeah. And I mean, HRT is going to be our gold standard here, but then we can consider bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So, like things like Progon B drops, like I'm sure you guys use those with some of your clients.
Yep.
And I've used it too. It's just like sublingual, like bioidentical progesterone, pretty much. But it's not as accurate as
Mhm.
HRT, but that's all like if I needed to use it, I've used it in the past and it's balanced mine out.
Mhm.
But right now, like I just need TRT, and that's helped to balance my estrogen to progesterone ratio. So it really is very person dependent.
Mhm.
Um, and I do think that working with an HRT, TRT clinic is probably the way to go. You know, you know, maybe don't do what I do. I just work with a source. I just have my own, you know, source coming from my TRT or my TRT coming from my source. So, but we
Just
look at labs and adjust it accordingly.
just be careful that whoever, if you're going through a clinic or whatnot,
Mhm.
you're using, you trust
Yeah.
and have, talk to other people that go through them or whatever, have some type of reference.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, it's still a business and people want to
Yeah.
make money and they're not afraid to jeopardize your health in the process of doing so.
Dude, yeah, I mean, shit, look around. There are so many HRT clinics now. Like, I know so many bodybuilders who are like, yeah, I'm gonna do an HRT clinic. I have so many people I graduated with who are going into like integrative medicine and opening up HRT clinics as chiropractors. And I'm just like, okay, I see the business move because it is like business. And
Mhm.
some HRT clinics are big drug pushers, man. They are the ideal drug dealer.
It's like from that Mean Girls. She's a drug pusher.
He's a drug pusher. Just pushes drug. That's
She
what I
pushes
know.
drugs
I'm
on
just
you.
kidding.
Fucking
No,
Tina Fey. God damn it.
yeah. She probably has a fucking HRT clinic.
She probably does.
Sure, if he
Oh my
doesn't.
God.
But
Um,
it's true.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So like lowest effective dosage, like again, get labs to see where you're at. But normally it's like 3 to 5 milligrams of testosterone tends to be an okay starting point. Um, if you are doing the estrogen route, estradiol, like 25 micrograms, I think is the lowest dose that can be compounded. Someone can
I
definitely
haven't
like
heard
look
of
this up.
lower. Yeah.
You said it could be lower.
I haven't heard of it lower.
Oh, you haven't heard of it. Yeah, so I think 25 is like the lowest dose to be compounded.
Yeah.
And then in terms of what I've seen with progesterone, usually 100 is the lowest dosage, but they can compound 50.
25.
But yeah, so like you just have to find the right one that will do it. If not, you can do the Progon B route, which I believe 10 drops sublingual is
That's what
like
I
30 or 40 milligrams. 40?
heard.
40
40.
or
Yeah, so
10.
it's 40 milligrams. So it's like honestly, like someone like Laura, she could probably do the Progon B route, but like I'll be honest, it tastes like shit. So like
It's
I'd
incredible.
rather just take a little pill.
Yeah.
I have an athlete that I just gave her that yesterday, actually. So we're gonna
Yeah.
start with 3 and then kind of titrate from there and see how she
Mhm.
does.
Yeah. And it works fine. Um, yeah, but it's just something else to consider. But yeah, I just looked up the starting like 25 milligrams of estradiol is typically,
Micro.
yeah,
Yeah.
the beginning. Yep.
Yeah. And like I'll be
Uh,
honest, Progon B was not enough for me. So like I
yeah,
think
some
Progon B
people,
is great for like a menstruating female or like
yeah,
someone that's like has still some progesterone in circulation already that they're making endogenously. But
yeah,
for someone like me with my health history and medical history and genetic history, Progon didn't do shit for me. So it's like I actually did need more of a revamping from a HRT clinic to make sure that what I was getting was yes bioidentical, but also had enough oomph to help me to feel better.
yeah, for sure. That's smart. Um, did we briefly want to touch? I mean, we kind of brought up the whole libido thing.
Mhm.
And that's actually something I have on like my biofeedback form. And I
Okay.
feel like some people, they're just like, why is she asking me about my libido? Why does she want to know about like my sexy time?
We're trying to
But
be your friends. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
like we don't want details, but like um God, I've gotten some weird messages, man, from clients about that.
Yep.
That we don't need that. But looking at your libido, that is huge for knowing if our hormones are balanced or not. Some people may just have a suppressed libido. I'll say before I started TRT, I I didn't have like the best libido. It was there, but since using TRT, I told you guys I'm like the dry like Sahara Desert right now, but like my libido's high.
Mhm.
I'm ready. But I think it's important to kind of discuss like some of the questions around like libido, maybe like discharge changes that we kind of go over with clients. If you guys want to run through that real quick.
Yeah, I think it's just important just to keep tabs on like, one, do you have a sex drive?
Mhm.
And that also like is tying into like how you feel in the relationship too. There's a
For
great book called Come As You Are, and she talks about accelerators and brakes. And so like I don't want to disregard and just blame hormones. Hormones are a big
100%,
part of
yeah.
it too, but also like your own confidence in your skin, your femininity, how you feel in your relationship is also a big key player too. So make sure you like think about that as well. But it's like, do you have a sex drive? Like, do you want to get freaky deaky? Do you have the lubrication? Is sex painful? Like, these are things that like aren't necessarily talked about because like especially when I was growing up like in a Christian conservative home, when I had my period, I was given the little like you're a flower book, figure it out. So it's like these things are very important to talk about when it comes to menstrual health and fertility and libido. So it's like don't be afraid to talk about that to your coach because like it is it's another biofeedback marker. It is.
Yeah.
Also keep in mind too, for people like, well, I'm assuming we have people that prep and whatever else, like that's going to downregulate when you're going through extremes, whether it's, exertion physically, low intake of food, all of that, like those all impact your hormones, but also impacts your sex drive just from being so tired.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know. I'm the opposite.
Really? Get the fuck away from me. I'm going to bed. 7
Well, I'm
o'clock,
not gonna
going
be
to bed.
coming for you, Laura, I promise.
Not you.
Don't worry. I
Sorry,
don't
Josh.
think that way. But yeah, I mean, everybody's different, but I do think addressing those biomarkers are important. Especially like shit, man. If you're in your early 20s, you have vaginal dryness, you have irregular menstrual cycles, you don't want to have sex, something's
That's
up,
sad.
something's up,
Hmm.
and we need to look into that. I mean, it could be, like you said, like a psychological thing, like a confidence thing too, and maybe working with a coach, getting you into a healthier relationship with food,
Hmm.
body, and mind is going to help you. But it could be stemming from your stress levels, from your, hormones too. So got to dig a little deeper.
Hmm. And this is also to be said on the men's side too. Like men also need estrogen when it comes to having sex drive and erections. So like I know men are like really known for just their testosterone and always slamming AIs and stuff. And it's like, but you need estrogen too to, you know what I'm saying?
A
Like,
soldier to salute.
please watch us on YouTube.
Definitely more entertaining that way, for sure.
Yeah, but don't fear sex hormones. It's just in the right amount. And if you are considering HRT, TRT, like Laura said, like talk to other people that are working with like clinics that are popping up left and right when it comes to online. Talk to your doctor, OBGYN, like whatever route you want to do. Start with the lowest effective dose, use methods that you're comfortable with, be patient, make sure you're heard, make sure you're keeping tabs on your symptoms. And also, I know we're not going to go too much into this, but make sure you're also paying attention to your liver health and your digestive health. Because again, it's sometimes when you add hormones and you're not like detoxing the way that you need to, you probably will feel absolutely like garbage because you're not like processing things the way you should be. So that's another thing that we probably could talk about another day, but I don't have anything else to add.
No, not
Me.
really. I mean, when kind of to go off of that though, like if like your TRT is too high or HRT is too high, especially with TRT, that can lead to greater like oxidative stress in the body. And a big heavy hitter is our gut health with that. So that's why people really take digestion for granted. I think that especially in like our off season, I know this is kind of jumping the gun to a different direction, but like I posted like my progress photos and like my midsection was pretty flat.
Mhm.
And somebody every time it's like somebody says like, oh, you're so lucky, like your midsection can stay flat. But I'm like, I take care of my digestion. I poop on the regular. Oh shit, that's a good thing. If you're not pooping on the regular, you're probably not detoxing your estrogen anyway. Um, but I take my gut health and my digestion really seriously.
Mhm.
So that's just what I wanted to touch on too, is gotta keep that in check. And
Everything.
shit.
Good.
May goes take a shit.
Take a shit. If you're not taking a shit,
I feel bad
it's
for
like
you.
your estrogen's just circulating. God, poop out your estrogen, please.
Make sure you take a sit to make sure you're taking daily shits. Don't be Sue. Don't be the pill popping Sue.
to take an Anavar picking up her kids from fucking after school care.
Go kids.
Sue, if you're listening, we love you.
I don't know who you are, Sue, but just stop.